I made one stupid joke to test my boyfriend and he packed his bags and vanished. Am I crazy for thinking this is an insane overreaction? Alright, let's just get this out there. I know I screwed up, I'm not an idiot. But I seriously need a reality check from a third party because I feel like I'm losing my mind. My ex-boyfriend, I guess, of 3 years, Dominic, packed a bag and walked out of my life 48 hours ago. He's blocked me on everything. My calls go straight to voicemail. It's like he was a ghost who decided his haunting was over. And why? Because of one stupid, ill-timed joke, a handful of words. Now in the narrative he's probably spinning to our mutual friends, he's the stoic, wounded party who had to escape his toxic, disrespectful girlfriend. He's the martyr and me, I'm the monster, the heartless bitch who took his trust and shattered it for a cheap laugh. He has made this a clean, simple story of betrayal and it's driving me insane. He left me over a joke about my coworker Elijah. That's it. He didn't find texts, he didn't catch me in a lie, I didn't cheat. I said something dumb, something I admit was in poor taste, and his response was to detonate our entire life together. So you tell me, am I the asshole for thinking this is a complete, certifiable overreaction, or have I genuinely done something so unforgivable that I deserved this? Dominic is a physical therapist. His hands heal people. They are calm, sure, and methodical. He spends his days correcting imbalances, patiently working on strained muscles and damaged ligaments until they function again. There's a tangible reality to his work. He makes things better, one person at a time. My hands, on the other hand, spend their days typing aggressive emails and navigating corporate minefields. I'm a client director at a top advertising firm. My world is a concrete jungle of transactional relationships, fake smiles, and the constant, gnawing pressure to be the apex predator in the room. Winning is everything. Dominic was my antidote to all of that. He was my quiet harbor in a relentless storm. His love wasn't loud or dramatic, it was steady like a foundation. It was safe, and that safety, I now realize, is what made me so damn reckless. My job has conditioned me to believe that anything you don't actively control can be weaponized against you. So I developed a sick, toxic little habit. I'd test him, not in big ways, never anything that felt like a real betrayal in the moment. It was more like a little poke, a harmless prod to the sleeping bear I knew adored me. I remember one time a few months ago, we were at a dinner with his friends. I casually brought up a ridiculously expensive watch a male client had sent me as a thank you. I described the client, a handsome tech CEO, in glowing terms, embellishing just enough to create a narrative. I watched Dominic's face across the table. He didn't cause a scene, he just got quiet. His smile became a little tighter. Later in the car on the way home, he said, "That story tonight rocks. The way you told it, it made me uncomfortable." I immediately went on the defensive, all bright, dismissive charm. "Oh, honey, don't be silly, it was just a crazy work story." "Are you saying you don't trust me?" I made it about his trust, not my behavior. He sighed, that long-suffering sound I'd come to crave, and dropped it. I had won. I had poked the bear, he'd stirred, and I had successfully soothed him. It was a disgusting little power trip that made me feel secure. He'd told me in vague terms that his ex had really messed with his head. The breakup had been brutal, he said, because she had played games, and it had broken something fundamental in him about trust. She used to say things just to see if I'd get upset, he told me once late at night. She'd talk about her options, about other guys who were interested, and if I got hurt, she'd laugh and call me insecure. It was like she was chipping away at my sanity, one joke at a time. I sympathized, of course, but I never truly listened. I heard the words but didn't absorb the warning. In my mind, it was just a standard messy breakup story. Everyone has one. I filed the information away under a simple, efficient heading. Ex-girlfriend was a psycho. It never occurred to me that I was using the exact same playbook. I just assumed my games were different, mine were harmless. After all, I loved him. I would never actually leave him, and I was convinced he would never ever leave me. The crash came on what was, until that point, a perfect Friday night. The kind of quiet, domestic bliss that fills lifestyle blogs and makes you feel smugly superior to the rest of the world. We had ordered our favorite Thai food, the half-eaten carton still sitting on the coffee table, scenting the air with lemongrass and chili. A bottle of wine we'd been saving was half empty, sitting between us. We were curled up on the sofa, my legs draped over his, scrolling through Airbims for a trip to the coast we were planning for next month. It was for our anniversary. The TV was on, a mindless documentary about deep-sea creatures, but it was just background noise. The world felt small and warm, contained within the four walls of our apartment. I felt that deep, bone-weary contentment that only comes when you feel completely, utterly secure. I was in control of my career, of my life, of him. That's when the little demon on my shoulder woke up. It's a voice I know well, the one that whispers that good things are temporary, that security is an illusion, and that the only way to be sure of anything is to push it until it almost breaks. My phone, lying face up on the couch, buzzed with a notification. A message from my coworker Elijah. It was work-related, something completely innocuous about a deck for Monday's pitch. Dominic glanced at the screen, a completely neutral, uninterested flick of his eyes. He didn't know Elijah beyond a name I'd mentioned a few times in passing. He didn't care. To him, Elijah was just a name, a colleague, a non-entity in our shared universe. But the demons saw an opportunity. The night was too perfect. The security was too absolute. It was boring. The sick, familiar itch started at the back of my mind. Poke him just a little, remind yourself that he's terrified to lose you. Make this perfect moment even better by proving you're the sun he orbits. Show yourself he'd fight for you. I let out a theatrical little sigh and picked up my phone. Elijah again, I said, my voice dripping with manufactured weariness. The man is relentless. Dominic hummed, still focused on a listing with a beachfront view. Hard worker, he murmured, pointing at the screen. This one has a hot tub. And then I did it. The words felt like poisoned darts, but I coated them in the honey of a joke. I leaned back, tilting my head to look at him with what I thought was a playful, seductive smirk. You know, I said, my tone light and airy, he's actually pretty charming in person. All that intense, brooding creative energy. I paused for effect, letting the sentence hang in the air between us like a foul smell. Then I delivered the killing blow, the line I'd crafted in my head in a split second. Maybe I should give that a try sometime, just to see what all the fuss is about. I even gave him a little nudge with my foot, a gesture meant to signal this is a game. Play along, I was performing. I was an actress in a play only I had the script for, and I was basking in the glow of my own cleverness. In my script, the next scene was simple. Dominic would roll his eyes, let out a mock growl, and pull me into a hug. He'd kiss my forehead and say something possessive and sweet like, "Don't even think about it." You're stuck with me, the game would be won, my security would be reaffirmed. The perfect night would be sealed with this tiny, thrilling victory. I waited for the laugh, for the hug, for my prize. But it never came. The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy, suffocating, a physical presence in the room. It sucked all the warmth out of the air, leaving a sterile, anemic chill. Dominic didn't move a muscle for what felt like a full minute. He just stared at the laptop screen, but I knew he wasn't seeing the pictures of the beach house anymore. The air between us, which moments before had been a shared space of comfort, was now a dead zone. Then, slowly, deliberately, he lifted my legs off his lap and placed them on the sofa cushion next to him. The gesture was so gentle it was violent. He shifted his body away from me, creating a chasm of several inches that felt like a mile. He reached forward and closed the laptop. The soft click of the lid shutting echoed in the crushing silence like a gunshot. The vacation was over before it began. He finally turned to look at me, and his expression was something I had never seen before. It wasn't the flash of anger I was half expecting, nor the wounded jealousy I was secretly craving. It was a terrifying, hollow kind of disappointment. It was the look you give something precious that has just shattered on the floor, and you know with absolute certainty that it can never be pieced back together. It was a look of finality. Roxanne, he said, his voice completely level, devoid of any discernible emotion. It was colder and sharper than any shout could have been. I told you what she did. I told you how she did it. My heart started to hammer against my ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. The playful smirk on my face felt frozen, a stupid, grotesque mask. What? Dom, it was a joke, a stupid joke. My God, I was kidding. No, he said, shaking his head slowly, a gesture of profound weariness. It wasn't, it was a test. It's always a test with you. You say these little calculated things, these little verbal barbs disguised as humor just to see how I'll react. You think it's a game, you get a thrill out of it. He stood up. The movement was fluid and calm, which was somehow more frightening than any sudden enraged outburst. He wasn't losing control, he was asserting it in the most absolute way possible. Trust for me isn't a sliding scale, he continued, his voice still unnervingly steady. He was looking down at me, but it didn't feel like he was judging me. It felt like he was a doctor, calmly explaining a terminal diagnosis. It's not something you can chip away at for fun and then expect it to be whole again. It's a binary switch, Roxanne. It's on or it's off. You just walked over and flipped the switch to off. My brain was short-circuiting. This wasn't in the script. He was supposed to be fighting for me, not reading me my eulogy. A laugh bubbled up in my throat, high and hysterical. You can't be serious, I stammered, standing up to face him. You're going to get this bent out of shape over a single stupid sentence after 3 years. It was never about the sentence, he said, and for the first time, a flicker of raw pain crossed his face. It was about the intent. The intent to hurt me just a little to see if I would bleed, just to make yourself feel powerful and secure. I lived that for 2 years. She broke me with 1,000 little jokes just like that one. I will not do it again, I can't. And with that, he turned and walked into our bedrooms. The finality in his steps was terrifying. I heard the closet door slide open with a low rumble. I heard the distinct, methodical sound of hangers being pulled from the rack, one after another. Scrape, 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 he was packing, he was actually packing. For a few seconds, I was paralyzed. My brain simply couldn't process the sequence of events. Joke, silence, packing. It didn't compute. This was a Dominic I didn't know, a man who operated on a logic I couldn't grasp or manipulate. The initial shock quickly curdled into a hot, defensive anger. How dare he turn my little game into this grand, dramatic gesture of departure? I stormed into the bedroom. He had his duffel bag open on the bed and was placing neatly folded shirts into it with a calm, focused efficiency that infuriated me. He wasn't crying, he wasn't throwing things, he was just leaving. Dominic, stop this. This is insane, I said, my voice sharp. He didn't look at me. He just moved from the closet to the dresser, pulling out socks and underwear. Are you even listening to me? It was a joke. JOKE, people in relationships make jokes. Sometimes they're in poor taste. You're supposed to get annoyed, we have a little argument, and then we make up. You don't end a 3-year relationship. He finally paused, a pair of socks in his hand, and looked at me. This isn't an argument, Roxanne. This is a conclusion. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. That line, protecting myself, sent a wave of pure rage through me. Protecting yourself from what? From me? The woman you were planning a trip with 10 minutes ago? You're acting like I'm some kind of monster. He zipped up the duffel bag and slung it over his shoulder. He walked past me, heading for the door. I followed him, my words tumbling out in a desperate, angry torrent. So that's it? 3 years down the drain because your ex made you fragile. That's not fair to me, Dom. I'm not hers. He stopped at the front door and turned, his face etched with a deep, weary sadness. You're right, you're not her. She did it because she was insecure. You do it because you're arrogant. The result is the same. He opened the door. The keys will be in the mailbox tomorrow, he said, his voice flat, and then he was gone. The door clicked shut and the deadbolt turned. I stood there staring at the wood, fully expecting him to knock in 5 minutes, maybe 10. I was sure of it. This was just a massive, over-the-top bluff. He was trying to teach me a lesson. I was angry but not yet scared. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a large glass of wine, and sat on the couch waiting for the apology text. But it never came. The hours ticked by. My texts, first angry, then sarcastic, then pleading, remained delivered but unread. By 3 a.m., I tried calling. It rang once and went straight to voicemail. He had blocked me. The anger began to evaporate, replaced by a cold, creeping dread, the kind that starts in your stomach and spreads through your veins like ice. He wasn't bluffing, he was gone. The next 2 days were a blur of denial and frantic, obsessive behavior. I kept replaying the scene in my head, but through a new lens. My own words, once so clever and playful in my memory, now sounded cruel and grating. Still, a stubborn part of my brain refused to accept the finality of it. This was a problem to be solved, a negotiation to be won. On Sunday afternoon, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I called Jessica, our mutual friend, the one who had been there for Dominic through his last breakup. I was ready to launch into my carefully constructed narrative. Dominic's insane overreaction, his emotional fragility, my innocent, misunderstood joke. I needed an ally, someone to validate my outrage. Jess, thank God you picked up, I started, my voice already trembling with performative indignation. You are not going to believe what Dominic did. I gave her the abridged, heavily biased version of the story. I painted myself as the victim of his unresolved trauma, a casualty of his ex-girlfriend's lingering ghost. When I finished, I waited for the expected response. Oh my God, Rox, he's lost his mind. But all I got was silence, a long, heavy pause that stretched for an uncomfortable amount of time. Jess, are you there? I'm here, she finally said, her voice strained. Roxanne, what exactly did you say to him? I repeated the joke, and as the words left my mouth for a second time, they tasted like ash. Another pause, then a deep sigh. Roxanne, she said, and her tone had shifted. It wasn't sympathetic, it was clinical. You can't have said that. Please tell me you didn't say that. Oh, why? It was just a stupid line. Because his ex didn't just play games, Jessica said, her words sharp and clear, each one a tiny shard of glass in my ear. Her favorite game was triangulation. She would constantly bring up other men, coworkers, old friends, guys at the gym. She'd describe how much they wanted her, joke about what it would be like to be with them, all while telling Dominic he was being paranoid and controlling if he got upset. She did it for months, chipping away at his self-worth until he was a wreck. And then she cheated on him with one of those joke guys. You didn't just make a bad joke, Roxanne. You took his deepest trauma, the specific blueprint of his heartbreak, and you reenacted it on him as a fucking party trick. The phone felt slick in my hand, the room started to spin. After I hung up, I wandered through the apartment like a ghost. It felt alien empty. His presence was gone, but his things were still here, his favorite mug by the sink. His running shoes by the door, then my foot bumped against a flat box sticking out from under the bed. I pulled it out, it wasn't sealed, I lifted the lid. Inside was a beautiful, leather-bound scrapbook. I opened it. The first page was a picture of us on our first date, goofy and awkward. He had written a little caption underneath. Page after page, he had meticulously documented our life together. Ticket stubs from movies, a dried flower from a hike, photos from birthdays and holidays. He was building our history. I flipped to the last decorated page. It was a photo of us from a few weeks ago, laughing in the park. The rest of the album was empty. Tucked into the sleeve of the back cover was a single sheet of paper with his elegant, careful handwriting. It was a list. Anniversary ideas year 3. Vintage scrapbook surprise. Weekend trip to the coast, book the place with the hot tub she liked. Recreate our first dinner date. The ring, the last item had a question mark next to it, but the word itself was a gut punch. The ring, he wasn't just planning a vacation. He was planning a future. A future I had just incinerated for the sake of a 5-second power trip. The evidence of how much he loved me was right there in my hands, and it was also the proof of how profoundly I had failed him. I'm at a bar now with a few girlfriends. It's loud, the music is pounding, and the air is thick with the smell of cheap tequila and desperation. My friends are doing their best. They're telling me I'm better off, that I'm a strong, independent woman who doesn't need a man who is that sensitive. I'm playing my part. I'm laughing louder than anyone. I just took a shot and slammed the glass down on the table, a perfect imitation of a woman unburdened. To freedom, I toasted, my voice a little too shrill. Seriously, what a bullet dodged. Can you imagine walking on eggshells for the rest of your life around Mr. Principled? No, thank you, his loss. They all cheered, raising their glasses. They see what I want them to see. Roxanne, the shark, back in the water, already looking for her next meal, completely unfazed. I'm performing the role of the unrepentant, tough-as-nails bitch who is already over it. And I am nailing this performance, but it's all a lie. The story ends here in this noisy bar, but it also ends later tonight in the suffocating silence of just my apartment. It ends with me, curled up in the dark, the glow of my phone screen illuminating the tear tracks on my face. It ends with me doing the one thing he can't see, the one thing that gives me a sick, pathetic flicker of connection to him. It ends with me on his Instagram profile. He hasn't blocked me there, not yet. He posted a story a few hours ago. It's a picture taken from a hiking trail overlooking a canyon at sunset. He's not in it, it's just the view, but I know that trail. It was supposed to be our trail. And then I see the tag, he's with Jessica, just as friends, I'm sure, but it doesn't matter. He's moving on, he's breathing fresh air while I'm sitting here suffocating on the ashes of what I burned down. And I refresh the page, and I refresh, and I refresh. Waiting for a new picture, a new story, a new digital knife to twist in the wound I carved myself.